Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Annabelle, Talent Coordinator at BioBuzz. I'm thrilled to be here today with our amazing guest, Dr. Judy Staveley. We're very excited to have her here today and have you all here today, so welcome. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dr. Judy Staveley to kind of start. So she's a distinguished science researcher and industry leader with an expertise spanning pharmaceutical sciences, biosecurity, and STEM education. She served as a subject matter expert in biotechnology, been a mentor for over 20 years, and is a leader in numerous scientific organizations, including the Washington Academy of Sciences, and holding positions at the National Association of Academies of Science. With a background in medical forensics, emerging infectious diseases, and global public health, Dr. Staveley has dedicated her career to helping to advance STEM education and strengthening the biotech workforce pipeline. She's received numerous accolades, including multiple presidential awards from the Blue Star families and White House for contributions to science and mentorship. And today, during our session, she's going to dive into the intersection of biotechnology and national security, exploring career opportunities in biosecurity. So if you're interested in how biotech innovation plays a crucial role, this is a great session today. Before we get started, I do want to give a big thank you to our sponsor, BioTrack, for supporting this program. BioTrack is a great resource for upskilling in the life sciences and has trained 17,000 scientists through their cutting-edge biotech workshops. You can learn more about them at biotrack.com. I also want to mention that today's event is part of the BioBuzz Talent Lab, your go-to resource for career growth, job opportunities, and industry connections. So if you haven't already, definitely join the Talent Lab today and stay connected with us, and you'll have more access to opportunities like this. All right, so now I want to hand it over to Dr. Judy Staveley.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Annabelle, for today's lecture. Are we going to pop on my slides here so I can utilize them? I'm honored to be here today to lecture you on the intersection of biotechnology and national security. It's always an honor to be presenting on these topics as things evolve. And again, thanks to BioBuzz for inviting me again to speak on behalf of biotech. Okay, so we're going to be talking about bridging biotechnology and national security. And I'm not going to go over my bio once again because Annabelle did a tremendous, great job introducing my bio, my background. It's pretty extensive. And like I said, I'm excited to be here. I recently opened a biotech company called Stavtech Innovation. So we're going to be discussing that also and how biotech intersects with national security. So where biotech supports national security and why this matters. Biotech and national security intersect. This is really an important discussion that we're going to have today because things are advancing drastically as we're seeing in the news, or if you're a scientific researcher or academic researcher, you're going to, notice there's been a lot of changes and advancements, not only in cybersecurity, but AI. And coming from the background of working on the pandemic preparedness team and biological threats, I'm seeing a lot of advancements in genetic engineering and within the biodefense sector, and especially AI. So I think everybody's following the advancements of AI, and it seems to be evolving every day with the new software that is being implemented in different sectors of not just the government, but in academics also. Today, governments worldwide are recognized that biotech innovations are essential for safeguarding our public health. I have an extensive background in public health. As Annabelle mentioned, I came from HHS working on the pandemic preparedness team, which was Operation Warp Speed, and then eventually evolved into industrial-based supply chain management office, and worked closely with all the agencies within the government, which was FDA, FEMA, Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Defense. But again, when we're working together to develop any implementation of preparedness response supplies such as PPE or vaccines, a lot of this teamwork comes together with, not just government agencies, but industries. So there's a lot of collaboration that people don't see behind the scenes. That is essential that we work together and as partners throughout the industry and government to implement, preparedness supplies, like I mentioned, PPE or vaccines or whatever we need if we have another biological threat. This growing importance due to emerging biological threats and pandemics and bioengineering advancements, again, we have to, focus on risks, the risks of bioengineering, the supply chain vulnerabilities, which we saw during the pandemic response during COVID, and then also other ethical challenges of genetic manipulation and proactively discuss these topics as we evolved as scientists or, mechanical engineers or biotechnologists. Again, we want to support each other, but we also want to do good for our country. So, and that also includes evolving policy and innovation. So policy is essential. Coming from that side also, when I was working at HHS, I worked on policy. And so I was kind of all over the place doing different taskers. But again, the sector of policy is very important. And we're going to see a lot of different changes, come in the biotech industry. And right now we're seeing a lot of changes with the new administration. So moving on to the next slide. Okay, the intersection and emerging tech and national security. And like I mentioned, the rapid integration of AI, we're also seeing a rapid implementation with government agencies and biotech industry working together, and also academic universities working on synthetic biology in cooperation with AI. These advanced medical technologies, again, has reshaped our national security. So as we advance, again, our national security evolves. So we have to stay on top of these policies as everything evolves during this transition. As Annabelle mentioned, I sit on the Washington Academy of Sciences board. I've been on the board for almost 10 years. I've also sat on the National Association of Academies of Sciences, and I was also the American Junior Academy of Sciences director, mentoring all the best of the best high school students across the country last year, and kind of, not just mentoring them, but advising them on scientific innovation and research projects, which they got to present at the AAAS International Conference in Denver, Colorado last spring. So as our new emerging scientists come up with innovations ideas, again, it's essential that scientists mentor these young individuals with proper ethics, and also guide them, with proper guidelines that ensure them that when they take the role as a scientist, that they're not just innovating, but also following national security rules. So for the Washington Academy of Sciences, if you're a scientist, I like to put a plug out there. I would love to invite you to become a member. And if you don't want to become a member, we have our annual banquet coming up in May. And that's a great opportunity to network with other high-level scientists, senior scientists. If you're a graduate student, postdoc, or if you recently lost your position as a government worker, this would be a time that you could come and network with individuals from NIST, NIH, within the government sector, and even the biotechnology sector. We have a lot of sponsors that are, sponsoring the event that are within the biotech industry. And that might be your way into a new position or job that you may be looking for. Okay. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, so government contracting in biotech and security. So previously, from me being a government contractor and working with the government, I was a professor for 15 years. I was actually the director of my biotech program at Frederick Community College. And back then, BioBuzz was one of my biggest supporters. We were partners in workforce development programs. I also worked closely with Montgomery Community College and their workforce program in order to do partnerships and for our ecosystem to develop engagement and events to support our young scientists that were going into biotech. Again, government contracting, now that I've been here, done that these last 5 years, it's been a very interesting career move, coming from a professor to pivoting into government contracting. I worked with the Pentagon when I left teaching, and it was at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. The Pentagon brought me up to speed in how the government does business. So I was in classes for a very long time, probably for, I would say, 4 months, just getting brought up to speed in government contracting through Defense Acquisition University, and learning how, again, government does business with industry. And then eventually, I got moved around these last 5 years with Operation Warp Speed, and then supporting the White House with not just the supply chain office, but also with the development of vaccines and medical devices. So what was impactful was my experience contributing to national security, and also my knowledge and experience as a biotech SME to contribute, on behalf of the American people, what was, what my advice, as challenges or possible opportunities within partnerships of industry. I have an extensive background, like I said, working with BioBuzz and industry and helping leverage partnerships and then writing up policy about these partnerships that the government could utilize, and then implementing them in policy. One of the biggest contracting companies that you may remember during COVID is, shout out to BARDA. BARDA is under HHS, and they were our sister organization with IBMSC, or Operation Warp Speed. And BARDA is known for providing funding for advanced medical countermeasures. And they also do funding for like biosurveillance, pathogen detection, and biomanufacturing, and also national security, cyber type grants that you might want to get into for qualitative data that they may need for like requests for information. So those are areas that you can explore if you're trying to get into government contracting. If you're an individual, maybe postdoc, and wanting to become a startup business, you may want to look into cyber grant fundings to get your feet wet into government contracting, and also working with consortiums. There's BioMap, there's NIH consortiums. There's a lot of different DoD consortiums that you can get involved. Again, it's all about the networking, getting to meet who's in the industry, who's in the government, how you can partner with each other to, bring solutions. That's the key word, bring solutions to the table. All right, and then you can ask me questions at the end also. So workforce development and building the future, this is my passion. I've been, like I said, I was a professor for 15 years, teaching biology and biotech, running my forensics program. So there's always been a need for workforce pipelines. And I've written several scholarly papers on this, and they actually made it to the White House. And that's how actually got my position, supporting some of the stuff that I did at the White House. So it's very important if you're within industry or if you're a startup business and you're starting to acquire contracts to do partnerships with academics, because again, we want great role models or mentors to go into, our colleges or universities to mentor our new generation and build that pipeline. And BioBuzz, is a great partner to build those relationships, because again, building these relationships will not just upskill our, future generation biotechies, but it will also support our national security. So, like I said, BioBuzz was one of my biggest supporters that helped me, with the support for workforce development pipeline for my students, and all my students got job placements just from networking and going to BioBuzz events. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, specializing in national security within biotech. We're going to discuss how vaccine development ties into national security, because I think that was a big issue these last 5 years with the COVID pandemic. Also, the importance of pharma and supply chain resilience, that is very vital for our country, and then medical devices, PPE, and critical manufacturing sectors. So one of the biggest contributions that the biotechnology industry can do for national security is to have supply chain resilience. Right now we're seeing domestic manufacturing come back to our country, so that's really good. We want that to happen. We're going to have manufacturing come into Virginia. There's a new manufacturing coming to Richmond, Virginia. Actually, a couple of them. There's one coming into Westchester, Virginia also. We have a lot of domestic manufacturing here in the state of Maryland, and then we're seeing it expand throughout the United States. And like we saw just recently, Apple's going into Houston, Texas, and we're going to start seeing other companies partner with domestic manufacturing. There's some in Mexico that are starting to partner with some here in the United States. And then we're going to kind of grow out our domestic manufacturing and secure our supply chain. So that's really, really essential. Also, and why is this really important? And I bring this up because our active pharmaceutical ingredients come from China. We want to make our own. We want to have our own manufacturers produce an active pharmaceutical ingredient here in the United States. We can't be too dependent on other countries, as we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was very tough. It was very hard to get, the sequence and what we needed. We ran out of supplies for PPE. So having our own domestic manufacturing really protects our national security. And then here at StaveTech Innovations, we contribute these efforts by supporting innovations in rapid vaccine development and secure manufacturing. And then we have collaborations with biotech industry, and we also have partners to help ensure that medical devices, PPE, our pharmaceutical supply chains are resilient, and we avoid any global disruptions. Okay, next slide. Okay, breaking into the industry, your pathway. So again, if you're pivoting into this industry and you were maybe a chemist or, or program analyst coming out of the government, maybe working as a government worker, and you were like a program analyst, and you have skills in different areas, you can pivot into biotech or national security, especially if you're a retired veteran, pivoting in your career and going to veteran biotech workshops, which are offered here in the state of Maryland, also in Virginia, across the United States. Or, if you're just a grad student saying, hey, I really want to, break into the biotech industry, what do I have to do? Again, if you have already a degree, some experience, you may want to do a workshop, a boot camp. So Montgomery Community College and Frederick Community College here in the state of Maryland. There's George Mason in Virginia. Again, I'm pointing these out because I'm in the DMV area, but in Texas, they also have like community colleges there that, we're seeing over the span of the United States that these colleges are now offering certificates that you can get a certificate in biotech and then break into the biotech industry and start working and getting skills to work at, say, maybe, big pharma or, our research and development. So again, if you're mid-career professional and trying to break into the industry, don't give up, because right now there's a lot of things happening. I know things are volatile, but things are going in the right direction. And I think we're going to see a good pathway leading to a lot of manufacturing here in the United States. Stay persistent. Okay, so resources for career growth in biotech and national security. Again, get involved in organizations. Like I said, I invited you to the Washington Academy of Sciences. Become a member. I'm a member of AAAS. I'm very close with Sadeep at AAAS, who's the CEO. And I'm sure he would be proud for me giving him the shout out for joining AAAS. Also, that gives you not just a membership, but also a subscription to the journals. So you want to be up to date with emerging technologies and things that are happening in sciences. And I encourage you to read. I read every single day. First thing in the morning, when I wake up, I grab a journal or see what the new advances are in biotech, so we can stay on the cutting edge. Also, for funding, I encourage you to look at the government program boards. There's CIBR. There's also local organizations, like we have MTech, like mentioned, also consortiums that you may want to attend. And again, I know right now times are tough for a lot of scientists, so they might want to, do free events, but there are a lot of free events, and I encourage you to go to free events. Go to Eventbrite, search for free events, and start networking, because again, our ecosystem here in the DMV, we have a lot of events that keep me busy speaking at, and also when you go to those events, you can network and get opportunities and also more insights in maybe policy into national security or getting a job in the biotech industry. And again, it's a rewarding career. It's purposeful. I wake up every day, with a purpose, with my knowledge of securing our nation, and whatever I could contribute, it's an honor to always do that. And I love biotech. It's been a passion since I was a little girl, and it's always evolving. And when it evolves, it's very exciting. And again, we want to protect those natural resources or any advancements we do. And again, if you're thinking of going into government contracting, or you become a government contractor, or maybe you do get into a federal position, there's a lot of security involved. There's clearances that you have to get approved for. So you want to have a clean record, good financials. They will do a background research. If you have a top secret clearance, again, they'll do interviews with the FBI, and you have to pass all those levels of entry to get a secret clearance or top secret clearance in order to work either as a government contractor or a Fed. So just keep those in back of mind, and because those are essential for getting your foot in the door. And again, there's a plug for my book. My book got released last October on Amazon. My book is Securing America's Future. Thank you. And I have a copy here. And it's a punch book. It's a quick read. So if you want to pivot it into a career in biotech and want to learn, the vital role of STEM education and national defense and innovation, I go into each of those topics. And then I have a little bonus chapter on national security and forensics. Again, forensics is always evolving, and I know forensics kind of gets left behind, but again, it's really important to utilize forensic science because it plays a vital role in our national security and biodefense. And again, that has a lot to do with, thank you, Eric, with protecting our nation's security. So thank you, Annabelle, for plugging my book in. And if you have any questions, please let me know. again, me and my husband own Stavetech Innovations. We're a startup company, and we're excited to be here. It's a military veteran owned, military spouse, and we're happy to be moving forward with government contracts.